Welcome to behavioral ecology. So, in this chapter, we're going to be looking at what influences behaviors. There are two basic mechanisms or things that can affect your behaviors. The first is your genetics. So, what your genes say about you will influence your actual behaviors. The second is your environment. So, how you are raised will influence your behaviors. And so, we're going to look at a couple different research projects or different research that has been done to determine if behavior is influenced more by nature or by nurture. So here we have an example of we have an example of two different types of birds. The Fisher lovebird carries nesting materials in its beak and makes its nest, while the peach-faced lovebird carries nesting material in its rump and then makes its nest. If you cross these two birds, the offspring, the hybrid, will try to tuck materials into its rump, but it doesn't do a good job and the materials will fall out. This is an example, or this supports the nature hypothesis that nature influences behaviors. Here's another nature influences behaviors experiment. If you take garter snakes from different environments, they have a food preference based on their genes. Inland populations will eat fish and frogs, whereas coastal populations will eat slugs. In a laboratory, if you take inland garter snakes and try to feed them slugs, they won't accept them, but the coastal ones will. The hybrids will also accept the slugs. So there is a genetic basis, or again, nature, that influences feeding. And when you get even closer, if you look more at the structure of the organism, their genes code for different receptors. And so the receptors on the coastal garter snakes and on the hybrids actually allow them to taste different foods than on the inland snakes. And this is just showing tongue flicks. The tongue flicks determine how well they will taste different foods. And if we look at humans, and we take twins that were raised in different environments, they still have preferences in foods, preferences in mate selection, and even in activities that they like. So this supports the nature or your genetics influence your behaviors. But the environment does have influence. So environmental influences environmental influences or nurture also affects behaviors. So what you learn will influence your behavior. Learning is a permanent change in behavior because you have had experience with certain things. One learned response is called a fixed action pattern. This is an innate behavior that is encoded for in your genes, but you become better at it. And so here we have pecking. Pecking is an innate behavior, But pecking, initially when you are pecking, you're not going to be very good at getting whatever food you're pecking at. After a couple of days, you become very accurate and you can peck the same spot very effectively. Another learned behavior is imprinting. Imprinting is seeing that first organism and becoming attached to that first organism. And then that is going to be the one that will determine how you grow. This is it's a really cool video that shows birds, ducks specifically, and imprinting. There's no sound, so. Here he is when they were young. Teaching them to swim, look for food, everything.
What would you do if your hips and knees didn't hurt? Would you start doing the things you love again, like traveling?
Sorry. And then you have associative learning when you associate a certain stimulus with a response. So classical conditioning is learning where a stimulus elicits a specific response. The best example is Pavlov's dogs. So anytime the dogs received food, they would salivate. So he rang a bell, they rang bells, and whenever dogs got food, and so they associated with the bell with food, and anytime eventually when they rang the bell, the dogs would start salivating without any food. So this is kind of a cute little video. Oh, okay, I'm lying. Hold on a second, I think. All right, here's the video I was looking for.
I have to reboot again. Hey, Dwight, do you want an Altoid? What do you think? In school, we learned about this scientist who trained dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell by feeding them whenever a bell rang. So for the past couple weeks, I've been conducting a similar experiment. Dwight, one Altoid. Okay. Altoid. Sure. Intway? Intway? Yes. What are you doing? Well, I don't know. Well, my mouth tastes so bad. All of a sudden.
Okay, hold on. I better stop it. Okay, it's over. Good. I just want to make sure. Nope, it's going to start a new one. That's what I was worried about. That's what always happens. Okay. Sorry. And so then you also have operant learning. So operant conditioning is learning resulting from a reward or reinforcing a behavior. So training an animal and rewarding it for something that's being done that's correct. Like when a dog sits, they get a treat, or if the dog learns to go potty outside, they get a treat. And I also do have a video on this. It's not the video that, oops, sorry. It's not the video that was there. It is, come on now, sorry. Oh my goodness.
Are you finished? Well, thank you.
Would you like a chocolate? Yeah, sure. Thanks. Oh, sorry, Sheldon. I almost sat in your spot.
Did you? I didn't notice. Have a chocolate.
Thank you.
You're here a lot now.
Oh, am I talking too much? I'm sorry. Zip.
Thank you. Chocolate?
Yes, please. Oh, hey, Kim. Yeah, you know what? Hold on. Let me take this in the hall. You'll never guess who they got to replace him before.
Okay. I know what you're doing.
Really?
Yes. You're using chocolates as positive reinforcement for what you consider correct behavior.
Very good. Chocolate?
Sheldon, you can't train my girlfriend like a lab rat.
Actually, it turns out I can.
Well, you shouldn't.
There's just no pleasing you, is there, Leonard? You weren't happy with my previous approach to dealing with her, so I decided to employ operant conditioning techniques, building on the works of Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. Yet by this time next week, I believe I can have her jumping out of a pool, balancing a beach ball on her nose.
No, this has to stop now.
I'm not suggesting we really make her jump out of a pool. I thought the bazinga was implied. I'm just tweaking her personality, just sanding off the rough edges, if you will.
No, you're not sanding Penny.
Are you saying that I am forbidden from applying a harmless, scientifically valid protocol that will make our lives better?
Yes, you're forbidden.
Bad, Leonard. You know, using positive reinforcement techniques, I could train that behavior out.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So that is operant conditioning. Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. There we go. So I'm going to stop this video here and I'll pick it up with the next video, okay?